he's been this way for a long time. I think he's worse now. I watched the speech last night, and it was terrible. It was like a terrible speech.
Let's start with incredible energy at Trump's rally yesterday. You have got to see this to believe it. Look at this and compare it to what we've seen from the Harris campaign so far.
They never want to do it. They just don't want to do it.
Now, I want you to keep watching these images, and I want you to compare it to what you see. You know, we've told that Kamala Harris rally in Milwaukee was the biggest the Democrats have ever had. It was 3,000 people in a school gymnasium. Look at this arena. But don't just look at the size of the crowd, although that is important. See how the floor is full, except for that one fire aisle there? Next time you look at a Democrats rally, notice how the floor, there's a huge space on the floor because that rarely gets picked up on the cameras. So they push everybody behind and they push everybody up, and they don't have that big space, or they have that big space on the floor. Not at a Trump rally. Also, look at the enthusiasm. Look at the energy. These people have been standing outside waiting to get in for hours and hours and hours. And also look at the joy. Look at the excitement. Now, listen, rallies don't win elections. Organization wins elections. Getting out the vote wins elections. Being able to have enough poll watchers to make sure that ballots don't get screwed around with wins elections. But this is a big deal right now, especially this early on in the process. We're still 4 months out. What, 3.5 months out? Amazing, amazing sight at last night's rally. And, well, the content was, well, it was Trump. What can I tell you? Here's a little bit of it.
As you know, 3 days ago, we officially defeated the worst president in the history of our country, crooked Joe Biden. He quit because he was losing so badly in the polls. He was down in every single poll and down by a lot, so he quit. But really, what happened was the leaders of the Democrat Party, in a very undemocratic move, the bosses, they said, either you get out or we're going to throw you out using the 25th Amendment. That's what happened. You know that. So, well, you know that. That's what happens. That's what happens. These are nasty people, the Democrats. So we better beat them or we're not going to have a country left. You're not going to have a country left. So now we have a new victim to defeat. Lion Kamala Harris, Lion, L-Y-I-N apostrophe. The most incompetent and far-left vice president in American history. By the way, they did a poll. She was rated the worst vice president in history. I've never seen that poll before, but that's the poll. Together, we will win North Carolina in an epic landslide. We're way ahead in the poll. And we will take back that beautiful White House, and we will very simply make America great again.
Terrific stuff. And let me just say, we got a lot out of just that minute and a half of the rally. First of all, official new nickname, Lion Kamala Harris. And I like that he spelled it out for us so we know L-Y-I-N apostrophe. Lion Kamala. And most specifically, I loved the fact that he declared victory over Joe Biden. He should. We should. All of us. He's defeated. He was defeated before we even got to August. Joe Biden lost his bid for re-election. He was trounced so badly, not just in the debate, but by the reaction to it and the public perception that this man, even within the Democrat Party, that he had no chance. He was on his way to a 49-state landslide loss. I still think California would vote for, a shoe against a Republican. I love that he's declaring victory, and he's declaring victory with a big old smile on his face. See, This is what distinguishes us from them. They call us hateful. They call us angry. They call us, all of these horrible names, but they don't embrace this process with joy and with a smile on your face. Look at the joy on the faces of the people behind him as well. This is a joyful experience. It should be. While you're still pointing out all the things that are wrong right now that need to be fixed, we do it with joy in our hearts. We are happy warriors. Also, one other thing, this is in Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm told by all my intellectual superiors here in Washington, D.C., the political experts, you know who I'm talking about, all the people who said Trump had no chance against Hillary Clinton. Yeah, those are the ones. The ones who said that if Trump gets convicted of a felony, that he's over, he's just dead. Yeah, those are the ones. Those are the experts. They're telling me that Kamala Harris's path to victory goes through the Sun Belt. They're already lowering expectations in the Midwest. Oh, yeah, Michigan, Wisconsin, we're not sure about that. But the real victory is going to be Arizona, North Carolina, and Georgia. If North Carolina is part of the puzzle for Kamala Harris to win the election, and that's what it looks like right now in Charlotte, and just to be clear, this is probably the best it's going to get for Kamala Harris. The initial days of this, oh, look, we have a new candy to taste. It ain't going to end well in Charlotte, not in North Carolina for Kamala Harris. The declaring victory thing over Joe Biden is so delicious, especially when you see this photograph that was released. Oh my God, it's just so good. This is Donald Trump on Trump Force One watching Biden's pathetic speech. Look at the victorious stance that this lion has, and look at the just empty shell of a man sitting behind the resolute desk in the Oval Office. And this picture paints everything that you need to remember about what had been the face-off, the rematch between Trump and Biden, 2024. One man is still standing and the other is just a withering heap. Everyone was talking about how this was going to be the epic rematch. We're going to do it again. Same rematch as 2020. Yeah, well, one of the players in that rematch waved the white flag and went shrinking away. Now, I've done a quick review of our comments about when I asked you, should we, lay off Biden? And should we, ease up a little bit? It's just sad right now. What are you doing? You're beating a dead horse. Leave it alone. Let the man just slither away. And apparently you're all on the Kurt Schlichter side of the equation. And by the way, so am I. I would have been shocked if you would have said to ease off. No. We are where we are right now because of Joe Biden. And the fact of the matter is he's not going away. Based on last night's speech, he's insisting on holding on to the reins of power, and he has promised to continue to wreak havoc and destruction on this nation, including completely upending the judicial branch of our government. Now, he's not going to be able to, but he promised that he's going to do everything he can to screw around with the Supreme Court. I'm sorry, the judiciary is a separate and co-equal branch of government. He has no say on how the Supreme Court functions, but this angry, divisive, polarizing jerk is going to try to do it as a lame dunk. He's going to try to do all of these things in the last 6 months of his presidency, knowing that he will not have to answer to the voters. That's what makes it that much more despicable. So hell no, we're not going to lay off. Let's watch just how bad he was last night.
Ben Franklin was asked as he emerged from the convention going on, whether the founders have given America a monarchy or republic. Franklin's response was a republic, if you can keep it.
First of all, a little inside baseball media stuff. We talk about teleprompters a lot. And whenever somebody gives a live speech, you see the two glass panels on either side of the podium. Those are the teleprompters that they're looking at, right? Sometimes, depending on the arena, the teleprompters are out at your floor level, but up, sort of on a monitor so you can see it. But most often than not, they're these glass panels. And what it is there's a television monitor on the ground, and the glass panel is on an angle, and it is reflecting what it sees on that television monitor, the speech is scrolling on that television monitor, and on that reflective panel, the speaker can see his speech scrolling on that glass panel. Now, when you're delivering a television address, or if you're a TV newsreader like Jake Tapper is, right, where he just reads things to you and never actually has to think for a living, he reads his teleprompter right there. It's right in front of the monitor. Now, I don't use a teleprompter, but I've used them before, not for this show. And what it is it's a piece of glass. There's basically a transparent glass right in front of the lens there. And the speech or whatever you're supposed to be reading scrolls transparently on that piece of glass. So you can read it, but you can still act like you're looking right into the camera, like I am right now. If you watch this snippet of Joe Biden, take a look at the fact that he is not doing this. He is doing this. It's a subtle difference, but if you look at it, you will see that he is actually reading something just up and to the left of the camera. Do you see the difference? Watch it again.
Ben Franklin was asked as he emerged from the convention going on, whether the founders have given America a monarchy or republic. Franklin's response was a republic, if you can keep it.
Oh, what a man. He's a tough guy. I do like it when he does this. So why? Why is this important? I'll tell you why. Because he has deteriorated so much. He has physically deteriorated so quickly. You can hear it in his speech. You can hear it in his voice. That's not COVID. We've all had COVID. That's not COVID. You can hear it in the slurring of his speech. You can see by the orange makeup they put on him to make him look less cadaver-like. And you can now tell based on the deterioration of his eyesight and his vision. My belief is that a regular teleprompter right in front of the lens was still too small for him to use. That's why he trips over a teleprompter all the time. Okay. If you go to his live events, you will see that he's got like a freaking Jumbotron set up, like it's, Cowboy Stadium and Jerry Jones put it up. Right. And I think what they've done here, because he can't visually handle your typical teleprompter in front of a lens, they have a giant screen just up off of the camera, and he's looking at that. And that's why he's not making eye contact with you. And here's the beauty of it. We'll watch it quickly one more time, at least the beginning. Even with all of that, he still can't do it. He still can't read the teleprompter.
Ben Franklin was asked as he emerged from the convention going.
The Constitutional Convention. Every third grader knows this.
Now, whether the founders have given America a monarchy or republic, Franklin's response was a republic, if you can keep it.
And, I hate to fact check Joe Biden here, but I have been taught by liberals in the elite media over the last several months that our country, in fact, is not a republic. Clearly, when Ben Franklin was asked that question, do we have a monarchy or republic? Ben Franklin said, neither. We have a democracy, right? Remember, we talked about this a couple of months ago, how this CNN reporter went out and made fun of all the MAGA fascists who deny that we're a democracy and say that we're a republic. No, actually, we're not a democracy. We're a republic, they all said. And CNN was laughing at them, mocking them, and even hinting that they're kind of un-American and fascist because they won't concede that we have a democracy. So I don't quite understand this little story that Joe Biden's telling us, because I've been taught that we're not a republic. We're a democracy. So what gives there, right? Oh, unless, of course, they've all been lying. That's right. Ben Franklin said we have a republic because that's exactly what we are. But Joe Biden,
We've come so far since my inauguration. On that day, I told you, as I stood in that winter, we stood in a winter of peril and a winter of possibilities. Peril and possibilities.
The man is gone. The fact that Democrats and people in the media last night after this speech were celebrating him and telling us what an incredible statesman-like diplomatic address this was, that this was akin to George Washington or Abraham Lincoln, and that this man is fully capable. I saw so what is her name? Rule, Stephanie Rule, is it, on MSNBC? Say that, well, anybody who sees this recognizes that he's fully capable of maintaining the reins of power through the end of his presidency. No, actually, anybody who sees this sees the exact opposite. The physical, mental diminishment of this man in just the last 4 weeks is astounding. And there's something going on with his speech pattern. This is not Joe Biden even 12 days ago when he was giving those interviews to Lester Holt and George Stephanopoulos. His words are not being formed the same way. He is slurring so noticeably here. And forgive me for pointing it out. But last I checked, our job as media observers is to actually point out what we see and give you our analysis, not to be a tool of the propaganda arm of this party. Now, but that's just the delivery. And that's just the impression of his physical and mental capabilities. Let's get to the substance of what he said, because everyone was waiting for him to explain why he made this historical, unprecedented decision to pull out of the race. And of course, if that's what you were waiting for, you never got it. You never got an explanation. But what you did get was a political speech, a divisive speech, a polarizing speech that he could have given at the convention for his nomination. And of course, as he was celebrating his victorious track record, well, the only way he could do that was to lie. And the lies were bad. The lies treat you like an idiot, like you don't have a brain.
The crime rate is at a 50-year low. We're also securing our border. Border crossings are lower today than when the previous administration left office. I've kept my commitment to appoint the first Black woman to the Supreme Court of the United States of America.
Okay, so the only thing true there is that, yes, he did, in fact, commit to and appoint a Black woman to the Supreme Court. By the way, the fact that he's conceding that his commitment was to find a Black woman, any Black woman, sort of reinforces the whole DEI thing. But I know that we get into trouble if we point that out. But I'm sorry, violent crime at a 50-year low?
Violent crime rate is at a 50-year low.
If you believe that, I think that, and by the way, Mr. Biden, if you believe that, Mr. Biden, I think that you should encourage your family members, your granddaughters, to walk down the streets of Manhattan without their Secret Service detail. No one recognizes them. Just let them go. Let them walk down any major America. In fact, I think your granddaughters should ride on the subway system in New York all day long and see how they feel. Or the metro system right here in DC, because they're perfectly safe. Violent crime is at a 50-year low. Maybe they should walk past all of the homeless encampments in San Francisco that Kamala Harris encouraged with her destructive California Democrat policies. Let them spend a lot of time in those homeless encampments because they'll be perfectly safe. Violent crime is at a 50-year low.
We're also securing our border.
Wait, you're securing the border. Why do you need to secure the border? Wasn't it secure already? Something must have happened to make it unsecure, but I'm glad that you're now securing it.
Border crossings are lower today than when the previous administration left office.
If you believe that, you really should vote for Kamala Harris. Being completely honest, there's my endorsement. If you actually believe that border crossings today are lower and that Joe Biden has secured the border better than Donald Trump, vote for Kamala Harris. She deserves your vote.
I've made it clear that I believe America is at an inflection point. One of those rare moments in history when the decisions we make now will determine our fate of our nation and the world for decades to come.
Now, I'm going to let this run, but I want you to listen to what he's about to say. And bear in mind that he is using his chair behind the resolute desk in the Oval Office in the White House, our house, the people's house, to deliver a message to the American people. And there are very strict rules, guidelines, some would call them laws, about using federal government public facilities for brazenly political activities. I want you to listen to this address, this abdication by Joe Biden. And I want you to hear his words and ask yourself, Is this a message to all Americans delivered by the President of the United States for the edification of our nation? A message that we all need to hear as citizens from our commander-in-chief? Or is this a brazenly divisive, polarizing, hateful political message pitting this man against his political opponents as the good guys and the bad guys? Watch this.
America's going to have to choose between moving forward or backward, between hope and hate, between unity and division. We have to decide, do we still believe in honesty, decency, respect, freedom, justice, and democracy?
Okay, so he's framing a binary choice here. And of course, when he says Americans have to choose, he clearly means in the election coming up. So this is a message about the upcoming election. Right there, that's by definition political. But let's break this down together, shall we?
And the world for decades to come. America's going to have to choose between moving forward or backward.
All right, so I'm going to assume that every positive choice of the binary choice, Joe Biden believes he's on the positive side, that his hand-picked successor, Kamala Harris, is on the positive side. So in other words, if you want to move forward, you got to go with Joe and the Democrats. If you choose otherwise, you're taking us backward. Next.
Between hope and hate.
So he represents hope. And if you don't go with the way he's going, well, you hate. You're a hater. You're a hate monger. You're full of hate. It's really unifying, isn't it?
Between unity and division.
Ah, stick with me. I'm all about unity. But if you're not with me, you're all about division. And did I mention hate? He's literally saying all of this in the same breath. Well, the same raspy, shallow breaths that he can barely catch. But with a straight face, he's saying, we stand for hope. The other side stands for hate. But at the same time, of course, we're not about division. He's literally dividing us. I mean, he is literally dividing us into two categories. And the other category is everything that's despicable. And then claims that we're divisive. That, in my opinion, is a violation of the Hatch Act and the use of federal government buildings and facilities for a brazenly political activity. And it's hateful. And it's divisive. And it's the very last thing we deserved. We, the American people, deserved from a commander-in-chief and a president of the United States who has been missing in action and has disappeared. He finally emerges just to continue his presidency the way he did from day one, to lie to us and divide us. This morning, Donald Trump appeared via telephone with Fox and Friends, and he had his own opinion on the remarks from Joe Biden last night.
He's been this way for a long time. He hid in his basement during COVID. They pulled a fast one. He was in his basement. He was when I was campaigning. I said, "Where is this guy? He's never out." And he's been this way for a long time. I think he's worse now. I watched the speech last night, and look, the amazing thing is you look at the other networks. They say, "Oh, wasn't that a wonderful speech? Wasn't he wonderful?" It was terrible. It was like a terrible speech and terrible delivery. He looked like he was having problems. And yet you watch the other networks and you would think he was Ronald Reagan in his prime, Winston Churchill in his prime. And he wasn't. It was not good. It was not a good speech. The look, the sound, the voice, everything. And it's so phony what's going on. I mean, the press is it's so fake. Anybody can see it was a problem.
Yep, anyone can. And yet those other TV networks that he's referring to basically are right back where they were right before this debate, where they're telling you not to believe what you see or hear. Your own brain isn't capable of understanding the truth. We'll tell you the truth. Joe Biden is the master of everything he commands, and he's the next George Washington. More observations from Donald Trump this morning.
I get a kick out of one thing. They say, "Sir, be nice. You just got hit with a bullet. Maybe he's changed. Be nice." And I'd love to be nice, but I'm dealing against real garbage. When you hear that, they've weaponized the justice system against me. They've indicted me 4 times. They've pushed other lawsuits onto me. It's never happened in this country. This is like a third world country, what they've done, a banana republic. Every single court case that I have is pushed on by them. They've taken the Justice Department, used local DAs, and used local attorney generals. Every single case I have, and I just won the big one in Florida that Biden didn't win. What happened to Biden is they called him incompetent. He can run for president, but he's incompetent to represent himself in court. But just so you know, they push all these cases on me. They're the ones that started. And then they say, I'm a prosecutor. He's a criminal. They're the ones. Every case is started by them.
All right, a little bit more here from Donald Trump, who was really on fire this morning with Fox and Friends.
You could see what was happening. They were trying to do a coup. And, you know, I have it from very good information. I know a lot of people on the other side, too, that they went and they forced him out between Pelosi and Obama and some others that you see on television. It was interesting. I'd watch them on television and they act so nice. Oh, yes, we love Joe. We love Joe. Behind the scenes, I know for a fact they were brutal.
So,
That's 100% right. And we laid that out from the New York Post article earlier this week that has still not been disputed or denied by anyone in the Biden administration or in the Democratic Party. They shoved him out. They threatened him. Everybody knows it. And that's why the speech was written in the way that it was, because there's no real explanation. I'm telling you right now, bookmark this video, come back to it after this election is all said and done, maybe sooner, but definitely after this election. Everybody's going to come clean. And the stories that you're going to hear about what's going on right now or what just happened, they are going to blow your mind. But one thing Democrats are good at is marching in lockstep, getting shoulder to shoulder, circling the wagons, and protecting themselves so that they can defeat Republicans, especially Donald Trump. As soon as the election's over, we'll get the truth. And it's not going to be a pretty truth. Not at all. We're going to let Scott Jennings at CNN have the last word here about Joe Biden's address last night. As usual, he was the one person on the CNN panel who actually, saw it for what it was. He did not buy into the propaganda that all of his other colleagues there were delivering, and he threw some pretty impressive truth bombs.
Odd to me that just a few weeks ago, heck, a few days ago, most Democrats were still looking into television cameras and saying that this person is up to another 4 years. I mean, he's obviously running on fumes. They weren't cheap fakes, no matter what the government told you. In fact, I still think it's a legitimate scandal how they ever arrived at the decision to run again in the first place. I still think his family and his top staff have a lot of explaining to do. Most of this seemed like a stump speech to me. It seemed like he gave the speech that he always wanted the campaign to be about, which was he wants credit for this record that he thinks is historic and was not getting out of the campaign. I'm still shocked, by the way, at how easy it is to overthrow the president. I mean, I think of this office, I think we all think of this office as being impenetrable. He got 81 million votes in 2020, and then he got 14 million more. But at the end of the day, he was no match for a handful of party bosses who run the Democratic Party. So, look, I'm happy to give him all the grace that he deserves because he's on his way out. But at the end of the day,
yeah, it really sounds like that.
A bunch of people.
That's coming next.
A bunch of people looked into TV cameras over the last days, weeks, and months, and told you a lot of things that were not true about this president. I hope he is okay for the next few months, but it was obvious it was time, not tonight, but a while ago.
Yeah, he's 100% right, as he has been. I hope CNN realizes that guy right there and his interaction with everyone else on that panel is really the only reason to watch CNN at this point. Imagine if they gave him his own show. Imagine if they hired a few more Scott Jennings to really mix things up. I doubt they'll do that. That would put a cramp in what their real agenda is, which is not to get ratings and not to actually have a successful news network. No, their real goal is to just do whatever they can to help the regime. That's what their goal is. Good job, though, Scott Jennings. He's 100% right. That's the most important point to remember. For the last several months and years, a whole lot of people have looked into cameras and lied to you about Joe Biden. And now they've immediately pivoted and they're lying to you about Kamala Harris. Don't take it. Don't accept it. You just stay right here with us and the other really good truth tellers that you find yourself on your video platform of choice.